Aaron stood at the edge of the balcony, watching the twin suns of Kalira 9 sink below the jagged horizon. The air was thin and dry, carrying a faint metallic taste from the mining stations scattered across the plateau below. For the 1,000th time that week, he wondered why he had agreed to this assignment. Not for the money, not for the rank he had joined the colony to understand the alien civilization of the Zalans. Yet the closer he got, the more distant they seemed. From the corner of his eye, he noticed Jaren approaching. His neighbor had always moved with calm certainty, a stark contrast to Aaron's restless energy. Jaren was a senior empath, one of the few humans trained to sense the emotions of alien species directly. He had a reputation for blunt honesty. Aaron braced himself. "She doesn't love you," Jaren said, his voice low, almost like a warning. "I can feel it. I can feel it." Aaron turned sharply, the words hitting him harder than he expected. "How can you even say that? We barely understand her language, let alone her feelings." Jaren shrugged, his expression neutral. "I can feel it. Call it intuition. Call it experience. You humans assume love is universal. It isn't." Aaron clenched his fists. "Then what is real love?" he asked quietly, almost to himself. The question lingered between them, heavier than the Kaliran dusk. Jaren didn't answer. Instead, he simply walked away, leaving Aaron alone with his thoughts and the shifting colors of the twin suns. Lyra. Her name had become a constant echo in Aaron's mind, a rhythm he couldn't ignore. She was not human, though she walked among them with poise and grace. Her skin shimmered faintly under the artificial lights of the embassy, changing color with her moods, a language Aaron was only beginning to understand. But despite all his efforts, despite all the hours spent observing and recording, she remained distant. The first time he had met her, Aaron had been sure she would reject him. She had stared at him with eyes that seemed to read through walls. And yet, for some reason, he had felt drawn to her. Her words were measured, precise, like a carefully tuned instrument. He had assumed this meant disinterest. Yet there was something else, subtle and complex, hidden beneath the surface. Aaron leaned over the balcony railing, trying to catch the last rays of the sun. The colors of the sky seemed almost alive, rippling like liquid fire. He wondered if the Zalans saw it the same way. Did they feel beauty like humans did? Did they have love? He had come to Kalira 9 to study language, to translate and understand. But now he realized he was studying something much more dangerous: the human heart. He turned back to his small apartment and sighed. The room was sparsely furnished: a cot, a desk stacked with data pads, and a single holo projection device. He tapped the holo pad, bringing up Lyra's latest diplomatic report. Her words were flawless, devoid of emotion, yet every sentence seemed to carry weight beyond mere diplomacy. Aaron traced the lines with his finger, imagining what she had felt when she wrote them. Did she feel pride, doubt, or nothing at all? A chime rang through the apartment. Jaren's voice came through the comlink. "You're still at it, huh?" "That." Aaron rubbed his eyes. "I can't stop. It's like trying to read a book written in fire. I see the words, I hear them, but I can't feel the meaning." "Maybe that's the point," Jaren said. "Humans are good at feeling, not reading. You want her to think and feel like you. That's your problem." Aaron frowned. "So what should I do? Just give up?" Jaren was silent for a moment. "No. Keep learning. Keep watching. But don't assume you'll ever understand her the way you understand yourself. Maybe that's the only way you'll get close." The comlink clicked off. Aaron sat in silence, staring at the hollow projection. He had always believed that understanding was the key to connection. Logic, language, observation, they had all served him well in his studies. But here, with Lyra, None of that seemed to matter. It was as if every step he took toward understanding created another wall between them. The next morning, he arrived at the embassy earlier than usual. The Zaylan council chamber was vast, a dome of translucent crystal that shimmered with the ambient light. Humans had never built anything like this. Every surface seemed alive, reacting to movement and sound. He felt a thrill of excitement, mixed with anxiety. This was humanity's chance to show they could coexist with another species, and yet, Aaron felt a deep, gnawing doubt. Lyra was already present, standing near the central dais. Her skin shifted to a pale violet hue, the color he had come to recognize as focus. She looked up as he entered, her gaze briefly meeting his. For a moment, Aaron thought he saw something curiosity or amusement. But then the color shifted again, fading into neutral tones. He felt the familiar ache of distance, the realization that the bridge he wanted to cross was invisible to her. The council meeting began. Aaron's role was small, recording and translating discussions for the human contingent. Yet, every word Lyra spoke seemed deliberate, precise, as if chosen not only for meaning but for effect. Humans often spoke quickly, emotionally. Yet the Zaylans valued clarity above all. Aaron noticed how she paused at certain phrases, how her eyes scanned the room, how she subtly adjusted the tone of her skin. During a break, Aaron approached her cautiously. "Lyra," he began, keeping his voice calm. "May I ask you something?" She tilted her head slightly, a motion that suggested she was listening, though he could not tell if she was amused or merely curious. "What does connection mean to you?" he asked. The words felt strange on his tongue. Humans understood connection in a web of emotion and shared experience. But the Zaylans, he had no reference. Lyra's skin shimmered briefly, then settled on a soft blue, the color of thought, reflection. She answered slowly, deliberately. "Connection is efficiency," she said. "It is clarity. It is mutual understanding that leads to outcomes beneficial to all. Emotion is secondary." Aaron blinked. "Secondary?" "Superfluous," she corrected. "Your species values emotion as a driver. We value it as data. Love, loyalty, friendship useful, but not primary." He felt a pang of disappointment. Yet beneath it, a spark of intrigue. Humans had always believed emotion was the ultimate guide, the compass of morality and action. But here was a species that could thrive without it. Or at least, without it the way humans understood it. Could they be happy without it? Could they be capable of what humans called love? The rest of the day passed in a blur of translation, observation, and subtle glances. Aaron noticed Lyra's interactions with other humans, polite, measured, professional. Nothing more. He felt the familiar tug of doubt. Jaren's words echoed in his mind. "She doesn't love you. I can feel it." That evening, he returned to his apartment. The balcony now looked different under the twin moons. The air was cooler, the sky darker, but the questions remained. He activated his holopad, reviewing the day's recordings, listening for nuances, searching for the hidden patterns of meaning. Hours passed. He took notes, cross-referenced gestures, tones, and colors of skin. He cataloged everything meticulously, hoping to find the key to understanding Lyra, to bridging the invisible gap between them. And then, as he leaned back in his chair, exhausted, he realized something startling. He didn't want to understand her as a Zaylan. He wanted to understand her as a person. And maybe that was the real lesson. Humans could adapt, learn, and feel in ways aliens could not. Maybe love wasn't universal, but persistence, curiosity, and courage? Those were. Aaron closed his eyes and whispered to the empty room, "Then what is real love?" He didn't have an answer. Not yet. But for the first time, he felt certain that finding it, whatever it meant, would be worth every doubt, every failure, every barrier, because he was human, and humans never stopped seeking what they could not yet understand. The night passed. Outside, the twin moons cast silver shadows across the plateau, and somewhere, beyond the stars, Lyra rested, unaware that a human was beginning to map the contours of her mind, not with logic alone, but with the determination, hope, and courage that only humanity could bring. Aaron awoke to the soft hum of the colony's central systems. The twin suns had not yet risen, and the pale glow of Kalira 9's moons spilled across his apartment. Today was different. Today, he was scheduled for the Neuralink experiment, a program designed to allow humans to experience alien emotions firsthand. The idea thrilled and terrified him in equal measure. He prepared slowly, double-checking the lab equipment, reviewing the protocols, and reminding himself to remain calm. Jaren had briefed him thoroughly. "This is not just science," he had said. "It's understanding the alien mind. But don't assume you'll feel exactly what they feel. You'll interpret it through your humanity." Aaron knew that. And yet, as he walked through the sterile corridors of the research facility, his heart raced. The lab was cold, bright, and filled with machines humming in quiet harmony. Wires coiled across the floor like silver snakes, connecting to the neural link pods, cylindrical devices that looked more like art than technology. "Good morning, Aaron," Dr. Leora said, her voice calm but edged with excitement. She was the lead scientist on the project, human, but with a rare gift. She understood alien behavior almost as well as the Zalans themselves. "Are you ready?" Quote, "Are you ready?" Aaron swallowed. "As ready as I'll ever be." Leora nodded. "We'll start with Lyra. We have her consent. You'll be linked to her emotional output for 30 minutes. The system will monitor your responses. Remember, your mind may try to make sense of emotions that are not human. Don't resist them. Observe." Aaron climbed into the pod. The surface was smooth and cold against his skin. A helmet of fine, interwoven fibers settled over his head, each thread vibrating gently as it connected to his neural pathways. He felt a faint tingle, like tiny sparks racing along the edges of his consciousness. Then the lab faded. The world around him blurred, replaced by a strange, shimmering landscape. Colors and sounds merged, forming patterns he could not name. And then, he felt her, not with words, but with everything in him. Lyra's emotions were not simple. They were like waves that rose and fell, layered with subtlety and intention. There was focus. Yes, the analytical clarity he had seen during meetings. But beneath it, curiosity, interest, hesitation. A quiet tension, like a string pulled taut between two worlds. Aaron gasped. He realized he had never felt anything like this before. Human emotions were vivid, raw, often overwhelming. Lyra's were precise, almost surgical, yet infinitely complex. Every subtle shift in color, every micro-expression, every pause of thought carried meaning. For 30 minutes, he floated in her mind, observing, learning, struggling to interpret. He saw moments of her childhood memories, of rigorous study, of discipline, of a society where emotions were tools, not passions. He felt her pride in accomplishments, her frustration at inefficiency, and, faintly, her uncertainty about humans. He tried to respond. He reached out emotionally, sending warmth, curiosity, empathy. A ripple passed through the neural link. A tiny acknowledgement. Not love, not friendship, but recognition. A door, slightly ajar. Then the lab alarmed. The system detected a solar flare approaching Kalira 9. Neural link safety protocols triggered. Aaron was pulled from the connection before he could process the final moments, leaving him with a lingering echo of her mind. He blinked, disoriented, back in the lab, wires humming, Leora's hand on his shoulder. "You're okay," she said. "The flare forced an early shutdown. We'll need to run diagnostics." But her eyes held excitement. "You felt it, didn't you?" Aaron nodded, trembling. "Yes. I understood her in a way I never could before. It's not what I expected, but it's real." Leora smiled. "Good. That's what matters. You humans, your minds are unpredictable. You interpret, you feel, you improvise. That's why you're so dangerous to other species. You adapt where logic fails." Aaron's thoughts returned to Jaren's warning. "She doesn't love you. I can feel it." But now, he understood differently. It was not about love in the human sense. It was about connection, the kind that could bridge species, languages, and worlds. The following days passed in a blur. Aaron reviewed every recording, every neural link session, cross-referencing the patterns of Xelan emotions with human equivalents. He noticed subtleties no other human had recognized. The hesitation in Lyra's color shifts, the tiny micro-expressions that hinted at curiosity, the deliberate pauses that were not disinterest but assessment. He shared his observations with Jaren during one evening meal. "I think I understand her," he said. Jaren raised an eyebrow. "Do you? Or are you just telling yourself that to feel better?" Aaron frowned. "No. I mean it. She's not indifferent. She processes differently. But she notices me. And that matters." Jaren leaned back, silent for a moment. "Humans think in emotions. Aliens think in logic. But you've managed to find a middle ground. That is rare." Aaron smiled faintly. "And dangerous, right?" "Very," Jaren said, smirking. "Very human." The solar flare hit the colony 2 days later. It was not catastrophic, but it disrupted communications, damaged sensor arrays, and caused minor system failures across the plateau. Most species relied on rigid protocols to survive such events. But humans acted differently. They improvised. They adapted. They risked. Irene observed, as his colleagues repaired sensors manually, rerouted power lines in improvised configurations, and saved delicate equipment, using ingenuity rather than design. Lyra watched quietly from the council chamber, her violet skin shifting slowly as she assessed the chaos. She noted how humans did not panic. They worked together, even in danger, trusting each other's judgment and intuition. No alien species she had studied had ever shown such resilience. Aaron realized something important. This determination, this ability to adapt, to act without certainty, to feel and respond simultaneously, was a kind of love, too. Not romantic love, not even familiar love, but a love of life, of survival, of connection. Humanity's love could take many forms, and this was one of its most powerful. That evening, after the flare subsided, Aaron returned to the lab. The neural link system was damaged but still functional. He activated a link, this time observing other humans' connections with Xelans, comparing patterns, trying to find common ground. It became clear that while humans struggled to understand alien logic, their unpredictability and empathy allowed them to achieve what the Xelans could not: genuine, intuitive connection. Lyra approached him later, silently. Her color shifted to pale green, a sign of cautious interest. She did not speak, but she watched as he recorded observations, adjusted systems, and analyzed data. Aaron felt a thrill, not of hope, not of certainty, but of recognition. "Lyra," he said softly, not expecting a reply. "I think we can understand each other. In our own way. Her skin shifted slightly, a flicker that might have been amusement or acknowledgement. Perhaps, she said, her voice measured, neutral. Your species is unpredictable. That is fascinating. Aaron smiled. That word fascinating was progress. Not love, not friendship, but the first acknowledgement that he had reached her in some way. That was enough for now. Humans were rarely patient, rarely quiet, rarely subtle. Yet here, he was learning to wait, to observe, to feel the invisible threads of connection, stretching across species, languages, and worlds. That night, he sat on the balcony again, twin moons casting silver shadows across the plateau. He thought about the neural link, about Lyra, about the flare, about humanity. Humans had faced countless dangers in their history: war, famine, disease, alien encounters, and yet they survived. They adapted. They felt. They improvised. That was their strength, their advantage, their way of connecting with a universe that often did not understand them. He whispered into the night, "Then what is real love?" This time, he did not ask it as a question. He asked it as a challenge to himself, to the universe, to Lyra. Love could take many forms. Some were visible, some hidden. Some were human, some alien. But all were defined by action, persistence, and courage. And humans excelled at all three. As he drifted to sleep, he realized that the neural link was more than a tool for study. It was a bridge between species, between hearts, between worlds. And if he could navigate it, if humans could navigate it, then perhaps one day, the universe would understand why humans were feared, respected, and admired, not just for their intelligence, but for the strange, unpredictable, unstoppable force that was their humanity. And somewhere, beyond the laboratory and the colony, Lyra's thoughts lingered too. Small ripples of curiosity and assessment that would slowly, inevitably, draw their worlds closer together. The day began quietly on Kalira 9, as if the colony were holding its breath. Twin suns rose over the jagged horizon, casting long shadows across the plateau. Humans moved with purpose, maintaining the repair systems damaged by the recent solar flare. The neural link experiments were suspended temporarily, while engineers worked on stabilizing the energy grids. Aaron walked through the colony's streets, his mind half on work, half on Lyra. She had begun to show subtle signs of interest, though carefully hidden beneath the calm, measured composure of a Zealand diplomat. It was progress. A small, but significant bridge between their species. He allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction, then shook his head. There was work to be done. Then, the alarms began. The sirens blared across the colony. Red warning lights flashed. Residents ran toward shelters. Aaron felt a cold spike of fear, but he forced himself to think. This was not the time to panic. He had trained for emergencies. Humans rarely froze. In the face of danger, they adapted, improvised, and acted. Jaren's voice came over the comlink, sharp and urgent. "Aaron, get to the command center. Now." He sprinted through the corridors, weaving past scientists and technicians. The main observation deck overlooked the plateau. What Aaron saw made him stop for a moment, catching his breath not from running, but from shock. A fleet of unknown spacecraft had appeared in the Kalira 9 sky. Sleek, black, and angular, they hovered with an unnatural stillness. Sensors identified them instantly. A predatory alien species, long rumored in human intelligence, reports the Carvens. They had arrived, and there was no indication they came in peace. Lyra stood beside the colony's defense officer, her skin shifting rapidly through shades of violet, blue, and green. Aaron could feel her tension as clearly as his own heartbeat. The Zalans were efficient, logical, and calculated. Yet even they looked unsure. Humans, however, did not retreat. The colony commander, a tall woman with a steely voice, addressed everyone through the comm. "We cannot match them in firepower. We will survive with strategy, speed, and adaptability. All teams, prepare defensive measures. Humans, your improvisation skills will be critical. Use every resource available." Aaron's pulse quickened. Improvisation, adaptation. These were human strengths, the traits that had carried them through centuries of survival. And now, for the first time on an alien world, they would be tested on a scale larger than any battle humans had ever fought. He joined Jaren at the command console. The display showed the Carvan fleet circling, scanning for weak points. "They're not expecting much from us," Jaren muttered. "They think logic will crush us. They don't know humans." Aaron nodded. "Then let's give them a reason to fear it." Lyra approached, her skin a calm, pale blue. "Your species acts unpredictably," she said quietly. "It is impressive, but will it be enough?" "It has to be," Aaron replied. "We adapt, we improvise, and we won't back down." The Carvans made their first move. Energy pulses rained down on the plateau, tearing through power lines and flattening communication towers. The human engineers had anticipated some damage, but nothing this precise. Aaron and his team worked quickly, rerouting power, deploying improvised shields, and stabilizing the most critical systems. Lyra watched in silent fascination as humans scrambled, their minds racing faster than the Carvans could predict. While the aliens relied on rigid formations and pre-programmed tactics, humans ran simulations in real time, adjusting every second, using creativity as a weapon. "Deploy the mobile shields," Aaron shouted. "Move the power converters to the upper terraces. Make it look like chaos. It's our advantage." Technicians and soldiers obeyed, coordinating with the efficiency of instinct and ingenuity. The shields activated just in time to block a concentrated pulse from the Carvan destroyers. Explosions lit up the plateau, but no lives were lost. The humans had adapted. They had improvised. Lyra's attention shifted from the battle to Aaron. He moved with calm urgency, issuing orders, fixing failures, predicting the Carvan's next move. He was not the strongest, the fastest, or the most armored, but he was human. And humans excelled when outcomes were uncertain, when risks were high, when strategy had to mix with instinct. Hours passed. The Carvans adjusted, trying to outmaneuver the humans' improvised defenses. Aaron noticed a pattern. They expected repetition, linear thinking, predictability, but humans never repeated exactly the same action twice. Every shield placement, every power reroute, every tactical diversion was slightly different from the last. The Carvans hesitated, confused by what they could not predict. Lyra spoke, almost to herself. They think differently. They do not follow logic blindly. They feel." Aaron heard her clearly. "We do. That's why we survive," he replied. He could feel the pulse of human determination thrumming through his veins, stronger than fear, stronger than fatigue. By evening, the humans had stabilized the colony defenses. The Carvans were not defeated, but they were stalled. And in the pause, Aaron realized something. The humans' greatest weapon was not firepower, not technology, but their unpredictability, their willingness to act against probability, to improvise, to feel and respond simultaneously. He turned to Lyra. "See that? This is what we do. This is who we are. We adapt when others cannot. We improvise when logic fails. That is human strength." She looked at him, her skin a soft violet, almost acknowledging the truth. "Your species is dangerous," she said, "and admirable." The battle continued into the night. Humans fought with courage, resourcefulness, and relentless creativity. Engineers repaired broken systems mid-battle. Pilots performed maneuvers that defied conventional tactics. Soldiers used the terrain and environmental hazards to their advantage. Every move was a gamble, but every move worked because humans could trust each other, could improvise, and could endure. Aaron was everywhere at once, issuing orders, repairing systems, maintaining the neural link communications with other teams. He felt exhaustion creeping in, but he ignored it. Fear was present, yes, but it was paired with determination. The humans refused to accept defeat. That was their nature. That was their power. By dawn, the Carvans had retreated temporarily, regrouping at the edge of the atmosphere. They had underestimated humanity's adaptability, its courage, its refusal to bow to odds. The humans had not only survived, they had held the line. Lyra approached Aaron, finally close enough for him to see the subtle changes in her expression. Her skin shifted through a spectrum of colors he had never seen before. Green for thought, blue for reflection, a hint of violet for what he interpreted as respect. "You humans," she said slowly, "your species is remarkable. You do not give up, even when logic says you should. You improvise, you endure, and you care." Aaron smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "That's what humans do. That's what we've always done. We fight for survival, for connection, for hope, and we don't give up, no matter how impossible it seems." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Not words of affection, not declaration of love, but recognition. A bridge had been crossed. Humanity's unpredictable, emotional, resilient nature had impressed her beyond any calculation, beyond any logic. Jaren approached, a small grin on his face. "Looks like your stubbornness paid off." Aaron laughed softly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Stubbornness, courage, empathy. Humans are strange like that. We turn what others call weakness into strength. That's what makes us dangerous, isn't it? Lyra's skin shifted gently again. Yes, dangerous, and extraordinary. As the twin suns rose once more, casting gold and red across the plateau, Aaron felt the truth of it. Humanity had faced the impossible and survived. Not because of power or weapons alone, but because of their ingenuity, their empathy, their refusal to submit. That was their essence. That was why they were feared, respected, and admired across the galaxy. And for the first time, Aaron realized that the question he had asked so long ago, "Then what is real love?" had a broader answer. Love was not only a bond between individuals. It was the courage to protect, the determination to survive, the ability to act when all odds seemed against you. In this, humanity excelled. In this, humanity shone. He turned to Lyra, watching her colors shift in the morning light. There were still barriers between them, still questions unanswered. But he no longer felt despair. They had survived together, learned together, and faced the universe as equals in determination. And that was real. The days following the Carvan attack were tense but hopeful. The humans of Kalira 9 had proven themselves resilient, resourceful, and daring. Yet the threat had not disappeared. Scouts reported that the Carvans were regrouping, preparing for a second strike. The colony council convened immediately, and humans, Xalans, and allied species discussed defense strategies. Aaron walked into the council chamber with a sense of determination. He had spent sleepless nights analyzing the Carvan's attack patterns, testing simulations, and refining improvised tactics. The neural link experience with Lyra had opened his mind to perspectives beyond human logic, allowing him to see patterns the aliens had overlooked. Lyra stood at the dais, her skin a soft green of contemplation. Her calm presence contrasted with the tension in the room, yet Aaron could sense her growing respect for human initiative. She had seen their resilience, their adaptability. And now, perhaps, she began to understand why humans were not easily defeated. The colony commander spoke first. The Carvens will return within 48 hours. Our previous defensive measures slowed them, but they will adapt. We need a plan that combines efficiency with unpredictability. Her eyes fell on Aaron. You may have insights, human. Aaron stepped forward, heart steady. We survived before because we adapted in real time. We improvised. We made decisions based on intuition as much as calculation. I suggest we use the same approach but on a larger scale. We'll turn our colony's environment against them, set traps they won't predict, and exploit their reliance on rigid strategy. Lyra's skin shifted to a deep violet. You propose improvisation as a weapon? Yes, Aaron said firmly. We fight differently because we think differently. That is our strength. They cannot anticipate human ingenuity, our willingness to take risks, our unpredictability. Jaren, standing at Aaron's side, nodded. We can mobilize drones, defense turrets, and power nodes in ways they won't expect. Humans are the variable they cannot calculate. Plans were set into motion immediately. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists worked side by side, modifying defensive systems, creating mobile energy shields, and programming drones to react to environmental changes. Humans did not wait for certainty, they acted, testing, adjusting, and improvising at every step. As night fell, the first shadows of the Carven fleet appeared. They moved faster this time. Sleek, deadly, precise. But the humans were ready. Aaron stood on the observation deck with Lyra and Jaren. Remember, he said, we survive because we adapt. Every move counts. Trust your instincts. Lyra's skin shifted to a pale blue. I will observe, but also participate. The battle began. The Carvens struck with energy beams and projectile weapons, aiming to disable the colony's defenses quickly. Humans responded not by following predictable tactics, but by improvising. Mobile shields moved unpredictably, blocking energy pulses. Drones shifted positions constantly, drawing enemy fire while repairing critical systems. Engineers manually rerouted power lines in mid-attack, keeping energy flowing to shields and life support. The Carvens hesitated. They had never encountered an opponent that reacted unpredictably, that changed strategy mid-battle, that relied on instinct as much as analysis. Every time they adjusted, humans adjusted differently. Every time they tried to predict, humans defied expectation. Aaron coordinated with multiple teams, issuing orders and anticipating failures before they happened. He felt exhaustion creeping in, but it did not slow him. Fear was present, yes, but so was determination. Humans had always faced impossible odds. This was no different. Lyra moved among the human squads, her skin shifting as she communicated through neural link devices. She began assisting engineers, coordinating shields, and observing improvisation. Aaron noticed that her movements were fluid, almost mimicking human adaptability. She had learned. She was learning from them, understanding in a way no alien species had before. Hours passed, and the tide of battle slowly turned. The Carvens' attacks became less precise, their formations broken by the humans' improvisation and unpredictability. Drones guided by human intuition created traps the enemy could not anticipate. Engineers and soldiers collaborated seamlessly, thinking faster than any AI or rigid alien protocol. In one critical moment, a Carven destroyer targeted the central energy hub. Humans had no time to deploy conventional defenses. Aaron acted instantly. He rerouted auxiliary power through improvised channels, creating an energy pulse that reflected off mobile shields and struck the destroyer, disabling it. The maneuver was reckless, dangerous, and impossible to calculate, but it worked. The Carvens faltered. Lyra observed in astonishment. "Your improvisation, it is genius," she said. Aaron's chest rose and fell. "It's human. It's who we are. We survive not because we are the strongest, but because we refuse to fail." By dawn, the Carvens were in full retreat. Their fleet scattered, unable to adapt to humans' unpredictable strategies. Kalira 9 remained intact, its systems battered, but operational. Humans had survived against a superior force, not through firepower alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and determination, the traits that defined their species across the galaxy. The colony erupted in cautious celebration. Humans and Xalans alike cheered. Lyra approached Aaron at the observation deck, her skin a calm shade of green, tinged with violet. She looked at him with a mixture of admiration and contemplation. "You have exceeded expectation," she said. "Humans are unpredictable, courageous, and admirable. I understand now why your species survives where logic alone would fail." Aaron smiled. "We fight, we adapt, we care. That's human strength. And it's more than survival. It's love, in a way." Lyra's colors shifted subtly, almost imperceptibly. "Love is not the same for us as it is for humans. But I see it in your actions. I respect it. I respect you." For a long moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with meaning. Not words of romance, not declarations of affection, but acknowledgement, understanding, and connection. Bridges had been built not only between species, but between hearts, minds, and ways of thinking. Jaren approached, placing a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "Looks like you've done it. Not just survived, but proven what humans are capable of." Aaron nodded, exhaustion and exhilaration warring in his chest. "We survive because we refuse to give up. We thrive because we think differently, feel deeply, and act courageously. That's humanity. That's what we bring to the universe." Lyra's voice was soft but firm. "I will never forget this lesson. Your species is extraordinary. I am honored to witness it." Aaron looked out at the plateau, at the ruins of battle now quiet, at the humans repairing and rebuilding with unstoppable determination. He thought of Earth, of the countless generations that had struggled, endured, and survived. He thought of Lyra and the Xalans, and of the bridges they had built together. "Then what is real love?" he whispered to himself, echoing the question he had asked long ago. It was no longer just a question of emotion between two beings. It was the love of life, of survival, of connection, of courage in the face of the impossible. It was the love humans had for their fellow beings, their worlds, and their ideals. And that love, unyielding, creative, and unstoppable, had saved Kalira 9. Lyra placed her hand briefly on his shoulder, a gesture of trust, recognition, and perhaps the beginning of understanding something beyond her own species' limits. "Humans, you inspire, even those of us who do not feel as you do." Aaron smiled, feeling a deep satisfaction. He had not only survived, he had proven what humans could do when the universe tested them. They were resourceful, courageous, and unpredictable. They were alive in ways the Carvens could never calculate. in ways the Zalans were only beginning to comprehend. And somewhere in that truth, Aaron realized, lay the answer he had been searching for all along. Real love was not always a whisper between two hearts. Sometimes it was the courage to face the impossible. Sometimes it was the will to protect others, to adapt, to endure. Sometimes it was humanity itself. As Kalira Nine's twin suns rose, painting the plateau with gold and fire, Aaron felt an overwhelming sense of hope. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And humanity had shown the universe, once again, why it was both feared and admired. Lyra turned to him one last time before retreating to the council chamber. Her colors were calm, reflective, and for a fleeting moment, something warmer, curiosity, recognition, respect, flashed across her skin. Aaron understood it for what it was. A bridge forming, slowly, steadily, between their species, between understanding and action, between human hearts and alien minds. And in that moment, he knew that humanity would continue to thrive, to adapt, and to inspire. No matter the odds, no matter the universe. Humans would never stop seeking, never stop fighting, and never stop loving in their own unstoppable way. Because that was what it meant to be human.